What if you could use your gaming skills to get you ahead in life and at work? Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel and I am joined by Mohamed Badaoui, who is a lifelong gamer who's used his gaming skills to help him at work using RPG type mechanics to help him with his teams. He is a or he has made a gaming themed bar and arcade and is working on his own board game now. So gosh, amazing, amazing stuff. So, Mohammed, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing awesome. Grateful to be here.
Fantastic. So, tell us a little bit more about your journey, because I guess a lot of cool gaming themed things that you've done over your life, and we'd love to see it on this channel as far as how you've used your gaming to help you get ahead. So, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be most appropriate to start with like my earliest memories were watching my older brother and our cousins play on the Atari. They were playing a weird boxing game where there was a couple of squares with like elongated arms for with gloves on them.
Hmm.
They had stepped out and I'd seen them change the game with a prong on the Atari. And I was like, okay, let me move these prongs a bit. Let me see what new game comes up. And I switched to a random number. I don't even think I was old enough to start reading yet. So I had no clue what was on the screen. I didn't know what was going on, but I just saw a character on the screen and I could just move right. There were pits that I had to jump over. There were alligators I had to like escape from. And I remember jumping on like a vine that allowed me to swing over a large pit. And I immediately felt like I was in an adventure. I was like, what is this? And I come to find out it was Pitfall, and like one of the, classics, if you will.
Yep.
And from that point, I just felt like one moment I was sitting, in my parents' living room, and the next moment I felt literally on an adventure, which to me transformed everything. I was just like, this is amazing. I had no idea the sort of experience existed. From there, I was obsessed with video games. I everything I wanted was the new Nintendo, then the Sega, so on and so forth. There was every console I was into. Um, I got into RPGs. My first RPG, crazily enough, wasn't until the PS1, and I played Legend of Legaia. It's not the
Ah,
most popular game, but it's a great video game.
I would say
And
PS1. I think most people would have said Final Fantasy VII, right?
that was my second.
Okay.
But that was the second. After playing Legend of Legaia, I tell my friends about it. He's like, "Oh, you got to try Final Fantasy VII." And it was just, after that, it was just game over. Like everything was just RPGs mostly. Um, I did that throughout basically my entire like teenage life, and then at 20, I had an opportunity to be a district manager for a pizza chain. And I was like, okay, how do I take what I've experienced my whole life and actually apply it to the real world? And I was in charge of employees and I was in charge of, all administrative work. And I just sort of just reached in. I was like, all right, I got to min max my staff to make sure I had the best party possible. And I also had resource management to undertake, which staying on top of inventory to make sure that I had an ability to actually min max the staff. Like there was so much interconnection between revenue and profits, and what technically we can lose on maybe here if it's going to improve something else on the other side. And I really learned that from games like Final Fantasy Tactics, from Warcraft, like the RTS, later on the World of Warcraft stuff too. But yeah, I mean, it just all clicked and made sense. There wasn't like some giant, like complex mental leap I had to make to like try to fit it in. It was just like, oh, I know how to do this stuff. I've been doing it my whole life. Here we go. Let's just apply it. And it works, dude. It really
That's
works.
It's absolutely fantastic because that's exactly the kind of message that I love to bring on this podcast. For those that have heard, is being able to make that just that short little jump, that short little leap to say like, hey, you're a gamer. You have all these skills because you're a gamer, and some you don't
Yes.
realize you have until you take it out into the world and you actually look and you apply to say, like you had it could be as simple as like, yeah, limited resources and how do we get the most out of people. I love the term min maxing too. That is
Right.
absolutely fun for being a big RPG and Final Fantasy
Yeah.
fan myself and an MMO player. It's like, oh yeah, how do you min max? How do you get the most out of what you have and what's available?
Right.
And it's funny that that's a lot of the times what you do in a company, in an organization where you have limited resources, and it's like, how do you get ahead? How do you impact, and serve your customers? How do you get the most, revenue and profit, all with what you have?
Right. A lot of the times I feel like people have this perception of video games, and it's been changing over time, that it's for children and it's a game at the end of the day. When, in my perspective, has been, it's a form of media. Like, it's no different than a book. It's no different than a TV show or a movie. In my opinion, it's the best form of media because it encompasses all of them. And if you can tell someone to read something to learn, then you could definitely tell someone to play a video game and learn. It just has to be the appropriate video game. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot there to still be unpacked and to be discovered and to be used. And I think what you're doing is actually really, really cool. Like, I think it just makes sense.
I
So
appreciate
you're
it.
definitely onto something here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've felt the same way. It's just like, how can we just take that and just kind of move it forward and use these, transferable skills, right? As yeah, as we hear in like the business world, it's all about transferable skills. It's like, yeah,
Right.
video games to
Yes.
to the
To the real world.
corporate, to the real world. And I like to say that gamers, we're the best problem solvers on the planet
I
because
believe
we do
that.
it for fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, like I'm a Souls like fan as well. Like the Dark Souls series, Elden Ring is the latest one. Um, there's nothing like overcoming a challenge, and we put ourselves through that brutality for fun, like you said. It's
Absolutely.
right. So there's like something even to be said about like building up your self-esteem. Like, dude, you just did a no-hit run in soul on a Souls game. Like, you could accomplish anything in this world.
Right. That's
You
if
know,
you have that determination and grit and that amount of, patience to practice and to learn,
right?
apply that to what you're doing,
Yeah,
whether it's, looking to move up in your business, your organization, your work, your career. If you bring anywhere close to that level of drive, you're going to just be phenomenal, right? And
correct. I couldn't agree more.
it's all about just taking that little short jump. And I've loved that you've done a lot of that already in your own experience, whether it's the RPG mechanics. And so I would love to hear more about that as far as like, how you manage the team, right? And being the district manager and using the kind of min-maxing.
So what I really did was I micromanaged first. I went to each store. I got the lay of the land. I need to know who my staff was. Really getting to know each character. I mean, it was no different than hitting, start and going through each character's stats, understanding where they work best. Just because, a recent manager or even myself had an idea of where someone would fit, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll fit there. They come with their own, background and wants and desires and goals. And you kind of you got to find where they fit, not where you need them to fit. And, sometimes there's a balance in between that, right? Um, what I felt, what I felt was the strongest is literally allowing people to just do what they thought they were best at. And once you give people the opportunity and the freedom to sort of be their own boss within, the boundaries that are limited in a business, you really do just get the best out of them. And again, that's no different than an RPG. Vivi from Final Fantasy IX is not going to be your knight. He's not going to be your healer. He's going to do what he's best at. And I just felt it made sense, and I just sort of took that and ran with it. And it worked. We ended up winning highest gross sales in a year for 52 weeks straight. Uh,
Wow.
we ended up expanding our like stores. I mean, it just all made sense. And I was just like, thank you, video games. Thank you a lot.
That's awesome.
Right.
So I love it's kind of like the player agency, right?
Correct.
That
Right.
player freedom to say like, hey, do what makes you happy and do what is fun and
Right.
interesting to you, right? Because that's part of that motivation too. I think there's a lot of that, on the unfortunate other side of it, right? In especially corporate America, where it's like, you put this on your resume. This is, we're going to have you do that, but also this over here that you didn't want to do because that's
Right.
where we need you. And we're going to just kind of force you down into this little, spot. And you're like, this isn't what I signed up for.
And
And
it could
it's
be, that could be like demoralizing. I mean, if you're hired as like computer programmer and you're, managing staff, like those are two completely different skills. So it could be tricky. And I think the difference is video games are like curated for with goals of a fun experience, where unfortunately the business world is just simply not like that. I mean, capitalism rules and it's all about making money and doing what's best for the people above you sometimes. But I do think, on an individual level, if people, if they're not even managers, if they're entry level employees, if they go in with the idea and the mentality that I have an opportunity to grow, I'm level one right now, and being self aware is important. If I just grind it out, again, like video games, if I grind it out, I'm going to level up. Once I level up, I'll be more aware of my surroundings, and people will become aware of me, and I can be more valuable. And, you know, yeah, I mean,
That's absolutely true. Yes, there's something to be said for understanding that you start on level one, but
right,
everybody starts on level one, right? And
correct.
you have to grow from there. There's, I think, too much focus on the I'm not enough kind of
R-
mentality, right? Or wanting to be perfect the very first time you try something.
And that's just
That's
not real. I
that's
mean,
not how it works. Yeah.
no. And not to sound like a broken record, but dude, video games taught me that. Like every game, I got to max level in so many games, and as soon as I put a new video game in, I'm level one again. I'm
Hmm.
needing to learn my double jump, though I've been using it forever for 70 hours in a game I just played. I need to learn the dodge and the parry mechanic. It just you got to restart, and that's okay. The journey's the fun part, you know.
Absolutely.
When we opened up our bar and arcade, my buddy and I came back from doing like the district manager work I was doing, and I had a lot more free time. And he was a firefighter here in the city that we live in. And we're like, hey, we want to do something together. We don't know what it is. We're like, we both, love hanging out. We both love video games and food, and, alcohol makes money. So we were like, a video game arcade bar just makes sense. We kind of did that, and we had a goal in mind where, kind of repeating what you said, everyone starts at level one, whether it was us as business owners or the customer experience. And we thought to ourselves, even if a customer is returning, we have to make sure that from our perspective, they're still level one customers, where we need to make sure we give them whatever it may the experience, like catered experience, to allow them to feel like they had a better and funner time, or more fun time,
We get it.
a more fun time throughout their day. And, if they're returning customers, to us, it's like new game plus. Okay,
Mm.
they already know what's here. How do we keep them? And how do we try to make sure that there's new things to discover? And so for us, it was rotating out arcades, it was new menu items, it was new design
Okay.
projects in there. So yeah,
So how do you keep it? Yeah, that's very cool. Keep it varied, right? Like fun, changing, engaging in that way.
right.
And that's actually really cool and interesting because that's the first time I've heard New Game Plus used in a real life setting.
And I felt like it was just so fitting. It was just, they've been here before, but they have prior knowledge because they just beat the game.
Yep.
And how do new game pluses keep me engaged? Well, there's new content,
Hmm.
or whatever it may be. There's new content. There's different experiences to be had. On certain days of the week, we'd have like video game trivia. On certain games of the week, we had video game tournaments. And so it was cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
because I
great
think
time.
because so many people I think get that in their head as far as to kind of move the example a little bit further, right? Yeah, so you beat the game and then you're done, right? And then you
Right,
never use it again.
right,
But at the same time, you carry that experience with you. And I like this idea, whether it's New Game Plus, but even like you mentioned earlier, like moving to another game,
right.
because you bring knowledge with you of
Yep.
just gaming in general. Like, so you might not know exactly which button does what for this particular game. You got to figure it out real quick. But understanding, especially similarity in games, like, all right, well, this game has a double jump, this game doesn't, this game, whatever. And it's like you can kind of quickly realize, all right, this is why we give labels to games, right? This is
Mhm.
our RPG, this is our action adventure, this is our Metrovania game.
Right.
You you kind of you get kind of a sense of what you can do, but then having you'll see the difference, right, between somebody who's played, just hours and hours and hours of other games, and then they start this game, right? So you don't.
Right.
So I like to say, we all start on level one, but we do come in with this inherent knowledge sometimes that we bring with us, right? So yes, you start
Yes.
on level one, but you can kind of shortcut the learning process if you have this kind of prior knowledge.
Correct. Yeah. Experience is key. I mean, in real life and video games.
Right. And that's what I love, taking it now to the real life example, right? So it sounds like you had that experience, right, with the in the district manager,
Yeah. It was
position,
for a
right?
local pizza chain. So we were just slinging out pizzas all day. And yeah.
Right. But being able to work with people and understanding how a business works, right? Whether, you're an employee at the time, but you
Yep.
understand kind of how everything works, and then you're able to bring that experience to the bar arcade, right? So like, yes, you're a new entrepreneur, you're a new business owner, but you still have all this knowledge that you brought with you from the pizza chain,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It was, in a way, it was a new game plus for me. I was restarting all over, and I was able to, I was lucky enough to, my district manager position was for a corporate pizza chain. And they had already invented the wheel. There was no reason for me to reinvent it, and I was able to take so many things from, like, SOP, like standard operating procedures,
Yep.
how to make a proper schedule. They've spent millions and millions of dollars in R&D on why certain certain employees should be in certain positions, and what the goal is to synergize between certain stations. And I was like, this just all makes sense. And in a way, even the layout for the bar was 100% inspired by our RTS days, where we're like, hold on, we know certain things need to be in certain areas just to be most efficient. And I'm sure, like, I'm positive, I know for a fact there's books written on this, and I've tried to read some of them. And the unfortunate truth is they're just super heavy academic books, which
Mm.
I'm sure serve their goal, but I haven't seen anyone put it in video game terms. And for me, that just would have been great, which is something I've considered doing. I'm just not a writer. So I'll leave it to you guys, the experts.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, because that's something that's been on my back burner too. Is that you're not the first too that suggested, like, oh, if we had a book on this, it'd be really fantastic.
Yes.
So I'll say for those listening, stay tuned. There might be something coming.
Let's go.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit on the side of, or I guess I'll ask it this way. Um, Somebody may hear this and say, this is really cool and interesting, but how would this work for me? Right? Say I love video games, say I love RPGs. Like, where would I even start? Like, the bar arcade thing, like, sounds really cool. Like, would I start there? Do I work for a company first? Like, I guess, where would you suggest somebody start in this kind of journey, as far as like, I love video games. How do I use that, and where?
There's so many varying variables, um, and individual, like, situations for people. I do think the best thing to do for someone is to have an honest assessment of their life situation, where they stand. Are they able to open up a business? Are they, do they have the freedom to pursue a career that may not initially seem like the best endeavor, but if I can harken back to video games, sometimes those side quests that seem like nothing or something that have a giant payout at the end. It really depends on the individual. I think the key is motivate, like, how to stay motivated, to understand that this too shall pass, and if I just grind this out, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's really about doing the day to day every single day. And I know that's cliche and very general, but I mean, I really feel like that's the trick to the game. I mean, not to, like, give like a sob story, but my parents were immigrants to this country. We grew up super poor. I mean, I guess we had video games, so that says something. But it was all about, I saw them go to work every day, try to do their best every single day. And I was able to take that, and even, and video games showed me how, when you are trying your best, when you are doing what you can sometimes accomplish things that you don't think you could accomplish, like like the first Ninja Turtles game in the NES. I thought that was something I'd never be able to do, but you put enough hours into it, you learn, you're aware of where you are, where you stand, your weaknesses and your strengths. And there's nothing wrong with like admitting weaknesses and understanding who you are. So I feel like having a really good grasp on all of that is the starting point. That's really where it's at. I mean, I'd love to tell everyone to open up a business, but realistically, that's just not real for everybody.
And I think it's absolutely true. It's just, like not everybody has the means or the the situation to be able to do that. But
Right,
at the same time, I love your own example and what I would suggest to people, like especially young people, like straight out of college or school, whatever,
right.
that go work for somebody, right?
Yes,
Because
yes,
you get to New Game Plus it, right? You get to carry that knowledge with you.
yes. And there's always something to learn if you believe, especially straight out of school. I'm almost 40 years old, so I'm still young, but I've had 40 years of experience under my belt. Um, if you think you know everything, you're cutting yourself short. Like I'm not even saying that in a way of like, oh, this person's arrogant, but like you're doing yourself a disservice. There's so much to learn out there. There's so much to just to make yourself better by learning from other people. Like get that entry level job. Yeah, you're not going to be a billionaire off rip, but like someone has to, you have to start somewhere. You no one starts at the top, and if you do, in my opinion, if you start at the top, the journey is the most important and funnest part. What you're missing out on the journey, the top is not all that. That's just the
Yeah.
beginning, you
Well, and to
know.
maybe use another cliche, right? If you start at the top, the only way to go is down.
Yes,
Right.
100%. That's so true. Right, right.
You're like, I made it. And she's like, well, you
Yeah,
got to
did
keep
you?
going now. So it's like you
Yeah.
don't just stay there. So no, I absolutely understand. So I guess
Can
the
I
so
can I
oh, absolutely.
reference
Go ahead.
something? In Castlevania Symphony of the Night, you start with basically the best armor and weapons in the game. In about 5 minutes in the game, I was like, this is too easy. What is this? Death comes up and takes everything away from you. And I was like, how genius of them to show me what can be, what's possible in this game. They take it all away from you. They're like, all right, now start at the bottom and do do it. And I was like, this is fucking genius. Excuse my language. This is genius.
Oh no, you're good. I love it. Yeah, there's been a few games like that. I think, similar game, right? Metroid, right? The Metroid
Yes,
series. Right. I think I forget which one it was. Metroid Other M, I think was the one I remember where it was the same kind of thing where you have all your power-ups from the previous game and you just walk in and you're like, I'm good to go.
right.
And then you immediately get all the power-ups just sucked away from you and you're like, all right, now
Well,
you're back to nothing.
yeah, yeah.
Go.
But and the point is though, is it's the journey that was the fun part anyways. Had you if you had all those powers from the beginning, the game was not going to be as fun. And that's just how real life is. If you're going to start it, if you think you're going to start at the top, you're not going to enjoy the top without the knowledge of the entire journey, what it took to get there, what skills did I have to learn to understand how to move up so I can teach someone else. Because I really think too, if you think you've ever reached a top, you owe it to yourself and sort of your community to teach other people how to get up there. It's about putting that ladder down for the next person to come back up. And without the knowledge of starting at level one and moving your way up, I feel like you're truly doing a disservice without that goal in mind. So,
Yeah, that's wow, that's powerful. And I've heard it a slightly different way too, as far as what are your thoughts on having the knowledge is great, but you don't truly you may not truly understand and know and master it until you teach someone else.
yes, yes, teaching is, it's just underrated.
And being able to teach it means that you know it, inherently inside and out, right? That you can
Right.
explain it to somebody in the most simple terms possible that they can get it. Right.
And one of the coolest experiences when we had the bar, again, I have moments of arrogance where I'm like, I'm the owner, I know everything, I know what I'm doing. And then I'm teaching someone something new, or I'm teaching a new employee. And, as cliche as this is, they're like, hey, have you thought about it this way? Or have you tried this? And I'm like, like, that's genius. I've been doing this for years. And I just, for some reason, never crossed my mind to do this. So there's even, when you're teaching, there's even opportunities for you to learn as well. And that's the whole point. It's just as you learn, you become more powerful. You become more versatile. You
Yep.
become more valuable to yourself and whatever, if it's a corporation that you're working for, a small business, or your own business, you just become more valuable. And in my opinion, it feels great.
That's why, yeah, there's so many games so many successful games and very memorable games have a sense of progression, right?
Yes.
So that you're growing, you're changing, you're getting more powerful along the way, right?
Hmm.
And that's the fun of it, right? So why don't we do that more in real life, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I ask rhetorically, but really, it's something that we can absolutely look into and do more of. Is to
For
say like
sure.
how can we have that sense of growth in our lives?
Yeah. That stuff, that's key.
Because I love I remember somebody told me this analogy, call it an analogy or just a saying, I guess, is what you kind of mentioned as far as not wanting to or not sitting on your laurels, right? And not saying like, oh, I know everything, right?
Mhm.
And the saying is, if you think back 10 years ago and think about what you knew then versus what you knew now and the difference in knowledge and gap and ability, and you're like, wow, you can think what you want. Like, I'll say personally, I was like, man, I was an idiot 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. I mean,
so
too.
it's like, man, if I knew then what I know now, and then, but the rest of the saying is, but it'll take you 10 years from now
Yes.
to learn how much of an idiot you are now.
Right. I was right before you ended, I was going to say, I think the key though is to remember you are always that idiot in a playful way.
In a
You are
playful way, of
always
course.
that idiot, and, there's always something to learn. There's always new areas to grow in. Like, and that's part of just, unfortunately, I think it takes life experiences to like have that wisdom, but it's there and it's necessary to recognize, I feel like.
Absolutely. So I think it really is. So what we've talked about here, I think, is encapsulating this kind of continued learning, continued growth,
Hmm.
and because and I think the rule there is that you're able to take it with you wherever you go.
Yes,
So
sir.
being able to learn and take that to whatever the next thing you do is, I think is absolutely huge.
Yep. I couldn't agree more with that.
Awesome. And is there anything around that topic or other things that you've found in your life that maybe we've missed so far? Like what kind of advice would you give and anything that we've,
If I had to summarize sort of my feelings on that, I would just repeat what I said. I understand that there's always something to learn. There's always something new out there that you haven't challenged yourself maybe enough with. I don't want to sound like a social media influencer and tell you to just work hard, though working hard is important. I feel like being more self-aware of where you need to work hard and where you can improve, that really is going to be able to get you to whatever, to level up.
that's fantastic. I love that. And because it is that sense of level up. It is that sense of progression that I think is just like as you said, just so powerful and so necessary. Starting at the top isn't all that, right? I mean,
Um, and if I'd like to add to
yeah,
that, sometimes we know what our goals and our dreams are, but a wiser person than I am once said that if you put those goals and those dreams sort of in the background and just experience their journey as a goal and a dream every day, you may not reach that goal or dream that you're looking for, but you may find something way bigger and way better. And and video games are a testament to that. You could be playing Breath of the Wild and not even know that you're about to stumble on a dungeon or a cave that has sweet equipment, sweet armor. That's sort of how life is. If you kind of pigeonhole yourself in one very strict direct path, I really feel like you're cutting yourself short. You're doing a disservice to yourself. Be aware of yourself and allow some chaos in your life. Allow some areas for growth and sort of trust the process and see where it takes you. I mean, that's what I
yeah,
would add.
absolutely. Wow. I love that. And it really is that just I love that part of it, that sense of discovery, right? Is
Yes.
that
Yeah.
because you also don't want to just know everything up front, right? Where it's
Right.
just like be like, well, I'm at the top and I already know everything. It's like, well, is that fun even? Like, would you
Right.
want that experience? Right?
Right. And what's funny is like, are we cutting? Did we
Oh,
go
we're
over our
good.
time?
Yeah, we're good.
What I was gonna add is we first got the internet, probably like early 2000s at my house, and I discovered cheat codes for video games. And I would rent video games and I'd come home, we'd have them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I would immediately start with the cheat codes. And I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I
Mm,
was immediately overpowered, skipping to the last level, just watching the ending like movie scene. I was like, there's something wrong here.
uh-huh.
And to harken back on what we've been saying, it's the journey. Like, enjoy the journey, enjoy the struggle. Don't kill yourself. Don't overburden yourself, but enjoy the journey, because once you get over each step, once you get to that next step, it just feels good and it motivates you to take the next step, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite, you know, just as a concept, I think one of my favorite cheat codes is like just infinite lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in the day, right, it was like you ran out of lives, game over, you had to start way back at the beginning.
Right.
Games have come along now where they have a lot more auto saves and a lot more checkpoints and stuff. So even back then, I was like, I don't feel like this is as fun. I want to be like, I still have to use my own skill and ability to beat it.
Right.
I just don't want to have all these setbacks, right?
Correct.
So
I,
sort of,
I That's a really good point. Metrovanias do an awesome job at that, I
yeah,
feel like. But
the saves and the checkpoints and the yeah,
yes, for sure. Where they allow that infinite life cheat code, where I think older video games just were more focused on like the arcade
yeah.
system where they wanted you to restart, but that's a different conversation.
That is. And I think a lot of it was playtime, right? So they could
Yes.
only squeeze so much time into out of it, and they're like, we don't want you to just rent it for a weekend at Blockbuster and beat it. And it's like, no, we want you to buy
Right.
the game.
And redo it
Exactly.
for infinity.
Exactly. Exactly. So much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the interest of time, as we wind this particular episode down, I just wanted to first off thank you, Mohammed, just for being here and just sharing your
Thank
experience
you.
and being able to leverage your gaming just in your life, whether it's as a manager, as a business owner, and making your own board game now, which we didn't talk too much about, but that's heard about that. That's going to be really interesting.
When I have something to plug in for the board game, I'll reach back out to you. We'll do a second episode.
Awesome. There you go. Perfect.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
And again, for those listening, that if you're looking to really enhance your experience and you're looking to leverage these gaming skills that you have, right? Because everybody who's a gamer has these inherent skills. And I know, and we talked about it, problem solving, I think, is the number one. If you've ever wondered how valuable your gaming is, it's I can't even tell you. And I'd love to experience it more with you guys. And so definitely check it out if you want to learn more, dragonmorexp.com. And you can go on your journey to discover how powerful your gaming knowledge is and how you can use it in the real world. So
Thank
guys,
you.
so guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.